Have you had launching a webinar on your to-do list for ages, but for some reason it just keeps getting put off? And what I find is that a lot of people, when they think about launching a webinar, they think about the whole thing and doing it in one go before getting it out the door, before promoting it, before anyone's even signed up for it. And the problem with that is you have to do a hell of a lot before you've even got proof of concept. Well, what I'm going to teach you today is my method for how I get signups for webinars before I've even started promoting it. We together on this video are going to put together a webinar that I am then going to promote on social media and use to get signups, etc. And so the process and the methodology we're going to be using is what I call BAFing. BAFing means build as you're flying. And what it means is we're going to do what we need to do to get the plane in the sky, and then we're going to build it as we fly. And in this instance, what that means is we're going to do what we need to do to get the webinar promoted so we can see if anybody even wants to come along. And whilst people are signing up for it, we are going to start creating the actual webinar, what we're going to say on the webinar, the slides, the scripts, etc., so that we're not wasting time. And essentially what we're going to build is we're going to get a webinar created to the point of being able to promote it, because I break everything down into these 3 phases: plan, promote, deliver. And so under the plan section is we're going to get everything that, like, to start off with a plan in place, but then we need to get everything ready in order to promote. So when I say plan, we need to know what product we want to sell, because obviously that's the point of the webinar itself. We need to know that because that's the point of it, but we don't need to know it in order to promote. And we need to know a title of the webinar. We need to know a date and time. We also need to know the core value of this webinar. So what is it that we're going to be giving to people in terms of the value of the webinar? What are we going to be teaching them? What are they going to get from attending? This is really the biggest thing we need to know, because we need this in order to promote the webinar. And by the way, we are going to deliver this webinar live, because if you're going to build your own webinar, promote it live, deliver it live, get live feedback, real feedback from people as to whether this is wanted, whether this is needed, whether people sign up for it, whether people understood what you were saying, whether it converts. It's much easier for you to test things live than it is for you to build every element, pre-record every element, and then put it out there and see if anyone signs up. One of the main reasons is because when something happens live, people move faster. Whereas if something is pre-recorded, people go, oh, I'll listen to that later. Whereas if it's on Tuesday at 11, like, hello, we are live Tuesday at 11, people come along to that. It's an event. It's happening at a time and a place. And so it's easier for you to get traction with something that's live with an organic audience than it is for something that's pre-recorded. And the more traffic you get, the more people you get, the more data you have in order to measure whether this is converting or not. And once we've planned that out, then we get everything ready to promote. So what do we need? We're going to need a landing page. We're going to need a Zoom link. We're also going to need a thank you page. We are going to need a welcome email to say, woohoo, you're booked in. Under deliver, and we're going to need some reminder emails, because it's about getting as minimum amount of work done in order to test and see if people sign up for it. And then we're going to need some promo posts to put out on social media. And if you've got an email list, to send out to your email list to let them know this is coming up. Image-wise, we're going to need a landscape image to create a Facebook event, a LinkedIn event with. And we're also going to need a square/portrait image to promote the webinar with, so that we've got promo posts. Let's change that to promo copy and images to go together to promote it. And then to deliver the webinar, we are going to need reminder emails. Really important. Can't stress this enough. Don't just get people to sign up and then expect to remember when they're coming. Reminder emails are needed to remind people that it's happening in 2 hours. It's happening now. Let's go. We've got 24 hours to go, 2 hours to go, and live now. Isn't that going to annoy people? Yeah. If they don't like it, they can get off the list. Why did they sign up for the webinar if they don't want to come? Don't worry about it. It's fine. We're going to need the script or the outline for what we're talking about. We are going to also need slides. We're going to need to get, I always separate the pitch. So I have the script and outline. This is value. And then I like to break things down into lots of steps so that I don't feel overfaced with everything as like one job. So reminder emails, script, outline, pitch, script, slides. Then we're going to need the sales page for what we're selling. I'm going to put a query there because maybe it's going to be a calendar booking link. And then we're going to need sales emails and maybe a cart page. So this is a list of all the things that we need to get done for the webinar. Now, I am going to focus on everything we need to do in order to promote. And that is this. I am not going to focus on this deliver bit yet because I want to find out, do people want to sign up for this webinar first before I start faffing about with creating the webinar? The reason being is the first test is your messaging. Have you got the positioning right? Are people interested in you helping them solve this problem? The purpose of the webinar is to sell this product. There are so many angles in. So I'm going to actually create this for a product that I am selling, and that is Live Pod with You. So Live Pod with You is what we're going to be using. We're going to be creating the webinar to sell, and Live Pod with You is where I help my clients to launch their own live podcast. So if you think, where it comes to live podcasting, there are a few different reasons why somebody might want a live podcast. It solves lots of problems. Number one, it helps you build an audience. Number two, it helps you build authority. So my point is there are loads of different angles in. I could have lots of different webinars that are about helping you to get off the content treadmill, or helping you to build a personal brand, or helping you to do, how to do X, Y, Z. For the purpose, I'm going to keep it really simple. We are going to call this webinar, and the concept of this webinar is just going to be how to launch your own live podcast. That's going to be the webinar title. Okay, so I am going to have a look at my calendar, and if we have a look at a month perspective, we're currently the 23rd of June when I'm filming this. So I want to think about, when do I want to make the sales first and foremost? That's an important place to start. Because if, let's say, for instance, I want to start a new cohort for my Live Pod with You course, and I want that to start on the 13th, week commencing the 13th of July, then I want to give myself maybe a week, but because of my process, maybe even 2 weeks before the course starts for sales. And then I want to have the cart open, or the application open, for 5 to 7 days after the webinar, probably more like 5 days after the webinar. And so I work backwards like that. I don't have right now a set date for when I want a cohort to start. So let me just write this down for you. So when we're thinking about the date and time, we want 1 week to promote the webinar. Why? Because anything more than that is too far in advance for people really to, sign up and then attend. We need to keep this exciting, keep it fresh, get people to put it in their diary and want to come along. If you promote something too far in advance, what happens is it feels a little bit like you just forget and you don't go. So you want to keep it fresh in people's mind. You don't want to give yourself a massive task to keep the momentum going and keep the excitement there by promoting 2 weeks in advance, and then having to keep people warm for those 2 weeks and then get them to attend. So 1 week is a good amount of time. 1 week to warm people up. So pre-promotion. And by pre-promotion, what we do with warming people up is we go, okay, well, let's put some posts out about live shows. Because I'm about to put out a webinar that teaches people how to launch your own live show. If I put some posts out now that this about live shows and testimonials about live shows and why live shows are great, and then all of a sudden I go, oh, by the way, I've got a webinar coming up. I've primed my audience a little bit so that they're warm to the idea of live shows, and it's not the first thing they're seeing of me speaking about live shows, because I'm not talking about it that much on social media. Then a week to promote the webinar. Then 5 days of cart open. When I say cart open, I'm not actually going to direct sell off the back of the webinar. I might do, but I'm not going to, it's going to be more like book a call with me. So like, or submit an application, and then I'll be having calls with people off the back of that. I say I might do because my funnel goes, it's 2,400 to launch your live podcast with me, to do live pod. And that's 3 months, 6 weeks to build the system, and then 6 weeks support. But then I also have a £250 one-to-one call that happens first, called the live show vision call. But on the webinar, I need to think about, okay, so do I want to do webinar to one-to-one to live show vision, or do I do webinar to live show vision call? And that's the reason why I said, I might sell on it. But what I'm not going to be selling on it is the 2,400. That will be coming off the back of a one-to-one of some kind. So pinning that, we don't need to know that right now. And this is the kind of stuff I figure out as I'm flying. Plane in the sky is me promoting this webinar. Does anybody want it? There's no point me overthinking the sales process if I've not even got anyone signed up for the webinar. Let's get the chicken in the oven. Let's get the chicken in the oven first, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with the carrots. So now we kind of know how to think about the timeline. I'm going to give myself a week of warm up and then a week of promotion. And so I'm going to say that we're going to go, let's do 7th of July at 2 p.m. There we go. 7th of July at 2 p.m. locked in. The next thing was the core value. So the core value of this webinar is teaching people. So I'm going to teach the full strategy on this webinar. I absolutely hate webinars that give you the what and the why, but don't teach you the how. Like, they tell you that live podcasting is amazing and they give you all the statistics as to why it's amazing and, you know, why you need to be doing one and how it's going to solve your problems and that it's the most fantastic thing since sliced bread, but not actually the how to do it. And I really like to, at every single stage of my business, whether it's something that people have got for free or something that they have paid for, whether it's a subscription, a retainer product, whatever it is, a done for you service, at every single stage of my business, I give a deliverable that people can take and use, and they're not locked into the next level. The next level makes sense for them, but it's not something that I'm leaving out. They can still use what I'm giving them now and then get the next level as the next step. I much prefer that rather than have 75% on the table and then the important 25% hidden in the next level where you have to pay to unlock it. I hate that. It's so annoying. So what I'm going to do on this webinar is I'm going to give people the strategy. I'm going to teach people how it works so they could go and literally DIY it themselves if they want to. The thing that I'm selling next is support. Implementation support, helping them to figure out what their messaging is, helping them to strategize it, my expertise on their business. That's what I'm selling. And the next thing that I'm selling as well that goes along with my experience is the system that takes the legwork out of it. So for me, I can give away the strategy. I've set it up in a way that giving away the strategy doesn't give away my IP. It doesn't take away the need for my product. And remember that there's pretty much going to be the same all the time for your clients. Yes, you can accidentally give away too much for free to the point where people they've now got a list too long to need to work with you. Fair. You can do that. But the majority of the time, it's more the case that people are paying you for your implementation support and your expertise because they go, oh, that's great, but how does it apply to my world? How does it apply to this case? How does it apply to that? And connecting those dots isn't always the easiest thing for people. They need you to spell it out for them. I used to work as a systems consultant in a online business education company. And it was my job to help people apply the training to their marketing at their own business. And they would always say to me, yeah, okay, I get that. But how do I apply that to my marketing? Or how do I apply that to my business? And I would be constantly spelling it out to them. You just do A, and then B, and then C. And I'm like, oh, I get it. It makes sense now. And the next person will come along. But how do I apply it to this scenario? You see, everybody thinks that they're a special snowflake. Everybody thinks that they're unique and different. And they are, but at the same time, their scenario is usually pretty much exactly the same as the last person that came along and the last person that came along from a bird's eye view and a bird's eye perspective, right? It's just that when you're in the weeds and you're in the detail and you're down on the ground in the trenches looking at it from this perspective, it feels complicated. It feels overwhelming. And having someone guide you and advise you that you're taking the right steps is really helpful. And people need that. And that implementation support and accountability is what people pay for. So I'm going to give the full strategy away on this webinar. Shock horror. And it's going to be really valuable. It's going to demonstrate my expertise. It's going to give people an insight into what I know. And it's going to make them want to come towards me for support when they want to apply it to their own business. So teaching people the full strategy for launching a live show, the pre-production, delivery, and post-production repurposing. And then in terms of landing page, thank you page, welcome email, these are all things that we're going to make now. So this is my plan. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm just literally going to create this with you now. We're just going to do it. And I'm doing it live. This is actually a webinar that I'm going to use. And we're going to come into Claude. Let's go to a new chat. I am going to use a couple of skills as we go through this. And the skills that I am using are available for you to grab inside Strategy Geeks. Strategy Geeks is my community where I share with you my playbooks, my step-by-step processes, systems and things that are working in my business and also in my life that I'm using AI to build and help me become ruthlessly efficient, which is all available to you inside Strategy Geeks. I will grab you the link to Strategy Geeks and you will find it in the description of this video. Hey Claude, I am running a webinar on the, oh bummer, when is it? Let's give it all this context. Shared some details with you below. I want you to help me get set up for this. I just need to do the bare minimum in order to get this promoted. And so what we need to do is create the core copy using for the webinar. Take it one step at a time, don't jump ahead. What we're then going to do is this core copy, once the purpose of it is going to be for the promotion of the webinar and then also the landing page. So let's create the core copy and then we will then convert that core copy into the landing page, into the promo copy, into the welcome emails. It's going to be our anchor for everything. So core copy is a really cool thing to create first, because what it does is it basically means you've got this one messaging blueprint, if you like, for everything else that you're going to need. You're going to need to create loads of pieces of copy for anything that you do. We're going to need to have, copy on the landing page, also on the thank you page, also in the welcome email, in the promo posts. There's going to be various bits and pieces all over the place that we're going to need. And if you have one anchor piece of copy that you use, you can then convert that into everything that you need. So the first thing I always do is create the core copy, because then I will use that as my baseline. Once I've got that right, then I will essentially be able to do everything else, get everything else I need from it. So whilst that's starting step one, which is going to be to come up with what the core value is of my webinar, we're going to head over and we're going to start ticking stuff off this list. So landing page and thank you page we're going to do in Claude. Welcome email we're going to set up in a bit. We need the Zoom link, and so let's go and do that next. So we're going to head into Zoom, sign in, meetings, schedule a meeting. I need to go back to Canva. So I'm choosing A over, I don't know if it's supposed to be a capital A. I think it's a little a. The reason I'm choosing A over your is it feels less commitment. It's like lower friction. It's like how to launch yours. It's like you have to have made the decision that you want one. And might cause you to be like, ah, no, I'm not launching one. But how to launch A invites you to be like, oh, I'm interested in that. What does that look like? Okay, yeah, let me come and have a look. So it's a bit lower friction. So we're going 7th of July at 2 p.m. Duration is 1 hour. We've got it automatic to record, save. I don't have registration turned on because I'm going to have a landing page and I don't like to have 2 places where people have to opt in. So Zoom link, done. Love that. I get a little dopamine hit every time I knock something off my list. Okay, let's come back into Claude and see what he's doing. Okay, so what am I promoting? So here we go. This is the purpose. Stop pouring your week into content that vanishes by Friday and start building an audience that actually remembers you. Walk away with the full strategy to launch a live show that builds a warm audience and turns 1 hour live into weeks of content. I would say that the purpose is more about if someone has to tell you to put together a 1 month's worth of content on a content calendar one more time, you might just poke them in the eye. It is the most laborious thing. And let's be honest, you're putting so much content out on social media. You're putting reels up, you're putting stories up, you're putting posts on LinkedIn. You've even started a little Substack. There is so much content that you are trying to keep up with on a weekly basis that it feels like you're playing a game of whack-a-mole. And every single time you blink, a new mole needs whacking. Well, if that is you and you're really trying to build an audience and grow your personal brand and you want to be creating content that feeds into selling products rather than just creating a pretty Instagram grid that isn't giving you any results, then maybe a live podcast is the thing that you need. I would say that that is more the purpose. It's more about getting off the content treadmill. It's more about the fact that it's everything. And what I find is that, you know, when you leave AI to its own devices, it comes up with something that's vaguely relatable to a human and it often misses the mark. But this is the part where we've got to get some human input. We've got to share some story and we've got to really give it the input so that it starts to produce good output. So let's see what it comes up with off the back of that. You're playing content whack-a-mole, real stories, LinkedIn, the little Substack you started, and every time you blink, there's a new mole to whack. And for what? A pretty grid that sells nothing. Walk away with the full strategy to launch a live show. That's better, but you're missing the bridge, which is the introduction of a live podcast being the solution. So this is what I do. I just go back and forth with Claude until it looks right. Now, if you... I've obviously been marketing for like a decade now. And so I understand and I know the structure of how things need to be and how things need to look. And essentially, we want to relate to people and connect with them in the first thing that we say. But then we want to introduce our solution, which is the webinar, in a way that feels natural and makes sense and solves the problem. You're playing content whack-a-mole, reels, stories, LinkedIn, the little subset you started, and everything. Every time you blink, there's a new mole to whack. And for what? A pretty grid that sells nothing. Here's the thing nobody tells you. So AI, but it's fine. We're going to rewrite with voice later. One live podcast can do the job of all of it. 1 hour recorded once. It becomes your reels, your posts, your emails, your Substack. So instead of feeding 10 platforms, and don't love it. I don't love it. I think what we're missing here is more connection to the emotion in the first instance. So instead of you're playing content whack-a-mole, it's more like every day getting up and getting in front of your camera to put out just a little bit more content in the hope that it might bring in the next clients and move the business forward is exhausting, isn't it? There is so much to do and keep up with. And have you ever thought about having your own live podcast? And did you realize that if you did have your own live podcast, not only would it mean that you have a podcast, which is great for building authority and having your own platform, but that you could be using that podcast to get all your content from just doing 1 episode a week. You could get absolutely everything you need, plus it grow your audience and all the rest of it. Right, let's see if that helps. Yeah, it's better. It's much better. Okay, continue. And for the purpose of the recording. So what's happening here is I'm getting Claude to slow right down. It's first getting the purpose of this content. What is the problem that we're solving and what is the solution to the problem that we're solving and who this is for, etc. It's getting that right before it starts to write the substance. And then later, once we've got the substance clarified, we will then rewrite it all with my voice. Okay, whilst it's doing that, I use GoHighLevel, and inside GoHighLevel, I am going to set up an automation so that when someone signs up for this webinar, they're going to receive the welcome email. So the first thing we need to do is set up a form, and this form is going to collect details. I'm just going to duplicate one that I've already got, because once you've created something, like, why would you recreate it every time? Make your life easier. There we go. Live pod webinar. Name, phone, email. Actually, I would say we should probably put phone under email. Name, email, phone. Save. And actually, we're going to make phone. I like to collect phone numbers because it's a good way to communicate with people, but I don't want to make that required. Save. Now, this form, when Claude creates the sign up page, I will put this form, I will embed it into the sign up page. So, I mean, that's already ready, but that's great. The next thing that we're going to use this form for is that once somebody submits that form, I want them to receive an email to say, woohoo, you are registered. So we're going to create a workflow, and the workflow is going to be called Live Pod Webinar Registered. I'm doing this in GoHighLevel. If you're not in GoHighLevel, oh my God, why? You need to be. It's so good. It used to be really shit, but it has got so much better over the years. There is a link in the description of this video for you to go and grab a GoHighLevel trial. And if you join under me, that would be an affiliate link. I'm always happy to support you with getting set up and everything. So just let me know if you have any questions. We're going to set up a trigger, and that trigger is going to be when someone has submitted a form submitted. And the form that we're going to the form is the live pod webinar save trigger. So when someone submits that form, they will be automatically added into this workflow. We are going to tag them, because I like to tag people, because then I've got them segmented. If they've got a tag, I can find them easily, which just makes life easier. We're going to add a new tag. So if I just put live pod webinar registered, pop that like that, save action. Oh, and then name the action so that you can see what it does. And then we're going to send an email. Let's just select an existing template for now. That one. I'll go in and change that later. Right, Claude, how are you getting on? Hook. Open in their world. Okay, so this is now coming up with the structure for the core copy. So hook, opening up in their world, which is the fact that they're exhausted from creating content, the volume, the reels, the stories, the LinkedIn, the Substack, a promise what the webinar gives them, the host, why listen to me, the logistics, the call to action, the spine, it beats 1 to 4. Yeah, I was to say go. I need to see it once it's written to really understand what it's talking about. I'm a very kinesthetic person. The spine is beats 1 to 4. Oh yeah, okay. Let's come back to okay, so we've set this up. The email that we're currently using, I like to always use a template, which is basically an email that I've sent before. But what I'm going to do is save as new template. So it's making a copy of the template, so I'm not editing the other email. And this is going to be live pod webinar welcome. Okay, so we'll come back and fill something in there later. That's as simple as it gets. What I will also do here is put a wait stop, and we're going to wait for a set period of time. And I always do like the maximum 1,000 days, save, and we can call this a temp wait stop. The reason why I'm doing that is because I am going to promote this like this. Obviously, I'll change the email to be worded to say like, welcome, it's great to have you at the webinar. But I'm going to create the core copy first, and I'll come and do that later. But I'm going to have people come in and sign up for this and only have one email set up. Why would I have multiple emails set up? I don't know if anyone wants to sign up for this webinar yet. Let's test whether people sign up for it first. And then if they do, we'll build the whole thing later. Okay, so just for the purpose of time, I'm going to say just go, and we'll get it to get on with it. But now it's basically writing the copy. So getting up every day, getting in front of the camera, putting out just a bit more content in the hope that today is the day it brings in the next client. It's exhausting, isn't it? There's the reels, the stories, the LinkedIn posts, the little Substack you started because someone told you that was a new thing now. And every time you blink, there's a new mole to whack and a fresh blank screen waiting for you. You've put out more content than you ever have, and you've got a lovely looking grid to show for it. That sells absolutely nothing. So let me ask you something. Have you ever thought about having your own live podcast? Not one day when things calm down. I mean, actually thought about it. Because here's what most people miss about a live podcast. Oh, these two things. So AI, isn't it? We'll de-AI it later. Yes, it builds your authority. Yes, it gives you your own platform that nobody can take away. But the real magic is this. One episode a week can give you everything, all of it, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so now it's added my voice. And it's added my voice because it's got my voice in the skill. But I do have a voice prompt here that I keep inside Copy Clip, which I do recommend, by the way. It saves the last 200 things you copied and pasted. But this voice thing, this prompt here is my voice. And one of the important parts, so it'll run my voice past, and then we've got the core copy. So that really is the basis of everything, is getting that core copy. Because if we come back to the plan that we've got here, the landing page, we're going to use the core copy. The thank you page, we're going to basically use the landing page. The welcome email, we're going to use the core copy. The Zoom link is done. The promo copy is going to come from the core copy. And then the landscape image and the square image. That is the thing that's just a little bit more lengthy and takes time to create. We'll do that in Canva, and let's look for tribe funnels. And I'm going to repurpose something that I've already done before. Here we go. This will do. I'm going to repurpose this little badger. There we go. Launch. So we want the title in big. Launch A. How to. We've got the how to. 23rd of May. We've gone in the 7th of July. 2026 at 2 p.m. UK time / 9 a.m. EST. Okay, so yeah, and then I would just make a landscape version of this. I mean, it's not finished, but I'll put a subheading here, perhaps, and then maybe go like with Cordelia Kate. I spend a bit of time on that, making that better. I need a subheading. I need a in a nutshell statement. I'll probably get that from. Okay, so. We go, brilliant. Now create me from this a welcome email, and it's going to create a welcome email. Oh, hang on. Let's add in the Zoom link. Do I need to give it more context? Is it smart enough? Is it going to understand? The other thing that we're going to need is a sign up page. Now I'm going to do this inside GoHighLevel as well. And essentially I'm going to come to sites, funnels, and I am going to duplicate a funnel that I've already got. Let's duplicate the cookbook funnel, clone, and we're going to call it live pod webinar. The reason why I'm going to duplicate it is because essentially each page is just going to have code on it that I'm going to copy in from Claude, and I've already set each page up. Live pod webinar. I've already set each page up so that the code box has got no margins around it at all. If you have a look at the layers, you've got the page, and then in there you've got section. There's no padding or margins. You've got the column, the first column, and then the custom code box. In the custom code box is going to be what Claude gives me HTML code. When I ask it to create the webinar, it will create the copy, and then it's going to turn that copy into HTML code. And this is what this HTML code looks like. And so once that HTML code is pasted in here, we can hit the preview custom code, and then here is a page that Claude made for me, ready to go. So we can get this ready whilst we're waiting. This is going to be called maybe we can just do live podcast. I don't know if there's anything already on there. And then I've got to add a domain. I'm going to use my cordeliakate.com domain. And the path is going to be live podcast webinar. Save. Cool. So we've got the email here. I'm going to grab that in a second. I'm going to come to now landing page copy. I'm going to grab this. We were in automations and then in live podcast webinar, email, and let's add the content into this email. So if we got a subject line, I'm going to turn on click tracking because I like to see what my click-through rate is on emails. And then inside, let's hit save action actually and then come back. Inside this email, we can come back to Claude. I'm just going to hit copy and I'll delete the guff. So I've already got my unsubscribe footer at the bottom. Really important. In GoHighLevel, you don't get given by default an unsubscribe footer. You need to add one in manually. Important that you do, because if you send emails without an unsubscribe footer, you're not compliant. You get people emailing you a bit angry, saying, "Oi, unsubscribe me from your email list." Hey, contact first name. You're in. And GoHighLevel have got this cool thing now where you can, if you don't have a name saved in your system, you can say, "Hey friend." Hey friend. So you can choose what you'd say. I've generally got the first name set up though for everybody. You're in. Lovely to have you. You signed up because you're knackered. You're tired from feeding 10 hungry platforms a day and watching most of it forgotten by Friday. Fair enough. On the 7th of July, I'm going to show you how one live show can do the job of the lot. I would go through and edit and change a lot of this email, but we're just going to get the basic version done. See you on the 7th of July at 2 p.m. There we go. Save. So that is done. So save. Now we can test that this works by going to the form. And then previewing that form. And hopefully in preview mode it works. Hello plus test 200 at cordeliakate.com. Schedule needs changing. And then that needs changing. This is why you need to test stuff. Because inside the form, what I need to do is I need to go under submissions. I can see that I've signed up there, but in settings, after someone had submitted, we want to redirect them to a link, and we want it to be / live podcast, and I'm probably going to do / thank -you. Now I don't need to have that URL live. If I go to that URL right now, you'll see that it's a 404 page. This page has put its feet up, so that's fine because I'm gonna publish that page later. It is saved in my copy clip. Save. And if we go to emails, we will see that we've got you're in, and here's your link, and here's the email that just came through. So that is tested and working. Okay, so that is now saved, and we'll go to the right place. What we're going to do now, I'm going to just remember that is / live podcast and / thank you. I'm going to go back to the sites, to funnels, to live pod webinar. And this one here is going to be the thank you page. So under the settings of this page, it's going to be live podcast. Thank you. And that means that this form will load this page once someone has submitted the landing page, the form on the landing page. Okay, so we've got the copy for the landing page. We're going to pretend that we're really happy with that. And then we're going to say, okay, create HTML for landing page. Now, I have a really good way for you to brand your own landing pages with Claude really easily. And I went through it on a video, which you can find on my YouTube channel. It is going to essentially create the HTML for me. Now, what it's not going to have is images, and it's actually used my old branding, but that's fine for the purpose of this demonstration. I'm just going to copy this code essentially by hitting the copy button. Oh, I need to give it the form. Embed my form. Forms. Live pod webinar. I need to change that as well. That shouldn't say schedule. It should say submit. Save. So if I hit this integrate button, it's going to let me get the embed code. I'm just going to copy the embed code and then come into Claude and say, embed my form. I want you to make the button turn into a form once pressed. And then we want to come into, and whilst it's doing that, say, now make the thank you page. We need to come into sites, funnels, live pod webinar, the first page. And then I'm just going to get this code box, open the code editor, paste my new code in here, press save, hit publish, and that will save and publish at the same time. And then if I go to this page now, here is my page. And if I click on a button, it'll just take me to the form where I can fill in my details, press submit. And we've already tested that we get the email. So that's my page live. And really, like, this is ready to start promoting now, or we need to get the thank you page in place. So we'll do that quickly. Let's come back into the thank you page, hit edit. If you don't already have a page set up to copy like this, like once you've done it once, just copy it and take up and change the code. But you just basically look for a code box. So just type code. You're adding this box here, and then that's what you edit. Okay, so once it's created the thank you page, happy days, here it is. Join on the day, add to calendar. What's that do? Ooh. I didn't know that Claude could make add to calendar links. While you wait, watch the show. All right, fine. Let's copy the code, paste that in here, hit save, publish, and then if we view the page. So now what we can do is go back to this page here and test it. Hit the button, put the details in, hit submit, and hopefully it's going to open the thank you page. Oh, no, it didn't. What page did it open? Okay, well, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take out let's try and take out the /. Maybe it is just the double path thing is what's breaking it. Because I know that having a / in the path is something they're beta testing inside GoHighLevel. Maybe that is just too much for it. Sites, funnels, live pod webinar. I'm just taking out that extra /. Okay, well, that takes me to the right place. What I don't know is if I need to re-embed the form. I guess we'll find out. Hey, it was the double /. Okay, so we learned something that we're probably never going to need to know, but if the form redirect can't have 2 /s in it. So that's fine. We worked it out the hard way. So this funnel is essentially ready to go. We've got the email firing, the welcome email. We've got the landing page. We've got the thank you page. The next thing that we need to do is just to create promo copy. And you're going to go, okay, now we've got the core copy. From the core copy, we want to create promo post. And then you're going to use the images in Canva for a webinar of some kind, something like this or like this, to promote and put out with the copy. And there we have it. Everything is ready to promote. We're now ready to start telling people about this webinar. And only then are we going to start building the webinar. That's the next phase. The first phase, just get it to the point where you can promote it. The landing page, the thank you page, the welcome email, there's a funnel. And then you just need to have the promo posts going out so that you can put it out to social media, email it to your list, test it, see if anyone's going to sign up for it. And whilst they're signing up, do a little dance around the living room. Woo, I did a thing. I'm getting the sign-ups, and build the webinar. And look, here's the thing. If you build the webinar at the last minute, it's fine. If you do the slides the day before it happens, it's actually a good thing, because when you deliver it, it's going to be fresh in your mind. If you've created those slides months ago and then you put together the funnel and then you promoted it, you probably have forgotten what the slides are about. You're not teaching new subject matter. You're teaching your subject matter. This is stuff that you know. You do not need to know to do too much practicing. You just need to have a clear beginning, middle, and end. and to know what you're saying and have that all laid out. And that's not going to take you that long to put it together. Get it out, get it promoting. A week is plenty time to get that together and then deliver it. And then you can see, did anybody convert? And there's a difference. There's a difference between did anybody sign up and did anybody convert? They're different problems. You don't want to have the whole thing that you're looking at all in one go and then going, oh, well, that didn't work. Because let's say I get people sign up for this webinar in droves. Let's say people really want it, like they're really interested in it. I get lots of sign-ups, but I don't get any sales. Well, that isn't a problem at this end of the process. Actually, my copywriting, my sales page, webinar sign-up page, and all of that did the job it was supposed to do to get people onto the webinar. The part that needs work is the pitch, the offer, the sales process. So I should definitely do the webinar again, but then tweak and change the sales process to see if it converts next time. Does that make sense? And so you want to look at it as a chain of links, and you're constantly trying to find which link needs reinforcing next. And it's so much easier to do that if you just get the plane in the sky and then get some feedback. This link worked. Okay, this link worked. Okay, this link didn't work. This link needs reinforcing. And that is going to be a much faster way for you to get to a place where you have a proven converting webinar that is bringing people in. So there we have it. That is how I scrappily get my webinars out there. And this webinar is going to be available for you to come along to. In fact, go ahead and sign up for it on the page that we have just created if you want to learn how to launch your own live show. And grab you the link. I'll drop it in the chat. And you can test my brand new funnel that we built together here for me. And there we have it. Well, look, you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you next week on the Marketing Strategy Show. Bye.